Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, I'm Brad, this is my channel Animate Orange, and I've had a change of heart. Boom boom. Seriously, I've recently had a heart transplant. Something that I've kind of kept to myself for many years is that I had a failing heart. I had an enlarged heart. I was diagnosed 18 years ago. It has affected my entire adult life. It has limited the things I can do, the energy that I have, the things I can eat, and the things that I can enjoy. But for 18 years, I dealt with it as best I could. I refused to just sit down and rot away. So I've always tried to keep myself busy doing as much as I could do at the time. And at first, that was things like working on lawnmowers when I felt good, maybe some woodworking projects, different crafts, just trying to stay active. And as time went on, the heart got weaker, the energy levels went down. At one point I picked up the metal models and building those, which is something I can do sitting down. It didn't take much energy and I really enjoyed it. And as you can see, I started making videos and they seem to have caught on at least a little bit. And I just kept it to myself because I didn't want to whine and complain, or at least sound like I was whining and complaining about how limited I was and having heart problems. So I just mostly kept it to myself until just about the very end, and I kept ending up in the hospital over and over, which has happened in the past, but they were usually much longer stints in between as I adjusted medicine, dealt with new things. I've had 4 different defibrillators implanted in my chest, one on both sides of, I'm right off camera here, but one on both sides. I've got scars on both sides down here. It started off as just a defibrillator, and then number 3 was a defibrillator pacemaker, or what they call a IV. It actually helped pace the bottom of my heart because it was out of sync. And I'm sorry, 5. The 4th one they put in replaced the 3rd one because the battery was dying. 4th one got infected. They had to pull that out, which was part of my recent hospital stays. I had to spend like a month without one, which made things more difficult. I had to have like a month worth of IV antibiotic drip, and then they put one in on the other side, and that lasted around a week because then I was on the list and I got my heart. So basically it's been a long story. A little over a year ago I started meeting with a heart transplant team and very seriously considering getting on the list. It's a real big process. There's lots of tests you have to do, and before you can even do that, you have to either secure good insurance or have cash money to be able to pay for it, because it's not cheap. So it took me months to get the insurance part settled because I'm on disability. I don't have the cash money. But with some assistance from the heart transplant team, I was able to secure some insurance, a little bit of extra cost, but it was my life. And once I got that taken care of, then they started sending me for tests, all kinds of ultrasounds, echocardiograms, CT scans, blood work. I met the team, the heart transplant team, and the pharmacist and the surgeon and the coordinators and the psychiatrists and so on and so forth. And lots of more blood was taken, and they found out my blood type, and they found out whether or not I had had this or infected with that or history of this. And basically it's a process to clear you, to make sure you're a decent candidate, and they look for ways to eliminate you in a sense, because there's not many hearts to go around. If you've ever considered being a donor, if you are a donor, thank you. If you're not a donor, consider it, please. You could save multiple lives. They're not going to kill you to take your organs. It's when you had a tragic experience that you will not recover from, but you still have organs that can help someone else. Help someone else. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for the sacrifice of someone who was on life support, who wasn't going to make it, and their family and their support saved my life, probably saved somebody who needed lungs, maybe a couple of people who needed kidneys, so on and so forth. Thank you. If you're not a donor, please consider it. People need help. Anyway, I'm going to get off that bandwagon and go back to once I got, it took me forever to actually get on the list. I was approved for the program, but I still needed to get a couple of things done. One being dental. I'd get a dentist to approve me because of teeth, basically a tooth exam. I picked the wrong dentist. They refused it, but they wouldn't do much of anything to help me straighten it out. And it wasn't until I was landed in the hospital on IV drips and constant monitoring that they got one of these dental surgeons from the hospital to come in and check me out. He basically said, you've got a little bit of a cavity between two teeth, but it's very minor. It's not a big deal. It's very early in the stages. You need a heart. I'm clearing you. And the next day I was on the list. A week later, I was given a heart offer. Basically, a heart was available. Do you want it? That was an experience. It was a lot to it. It's a lot more than I ever expected. And they did try to tell me what was coming up, but it's one thing them trying to tell you one ear out the other, and another thing to actually experience it. It's a big surgery, and there was a lot of recovery. Not everybody spends as much time in the hospital as me. I guess I was just lucky, but it's a difficult recovery, and you lose a lot of strength laying in bed. And that's been one of the big challenges, is getting my muscles back up to where I could do the things before. Right now I'm at a point where I'm going up steps slowly, not because my heart can't keep up, which was before, but because my legs get so tired so quickly. They're getting stronger, but it takes time. I'm also on dialysis. I still have a little line in my chest over here. I go 3 times a week to get my blood filtered through the dialysis machines. And I had also put out on the internet that with this update video I wanted to answer any questions, and I know one of them was from Stampy57. Is dialysis part of the transplant? No, it's not part of the transplant, but it is not uncommon to have problems with your kidneys after the surgery. For one, with me, the kidneys were taking a bit of a hit because I had an enlarged heart and my body tended to retain fluid that it needed not retain. So I was on a lot of medicine to push that out of my system. And for years, my kidneys held up, but there towards the end, as the heart got weaker, the blood supply got weaker, blood pressure got lower, the kidneys started to fade. The surgery itself, you're without a heart for hours. You're being kept alive by life support. It keeps you alive, but the kidneys still take a little bit of a hit. Plus, after a surgery, they're giving you lots of medicine to keep you from getting infected, to keep bacteria out, to keep fungal infections out, to steroids to give you strength, to help you heal, to anti-rejection meds, the big ones, which I am personally on Prograf, and that's a very common one or tacrolimus is I think the generic is called, and that's a very popular one for not just heart transplants but lung transplants, I think even kidney. I'm not sure the extent to which, but it helps the body not reject the organ, but it also is hard on the kidneys. So between all of those things, I'm having a tough time. It is not uncommon for people to have reduced kidney function post-transplant. It can come back, and we're still in the hopeful phase. We're getting close to 3 months. Usually it comes back within 3 months. After that, I may go from what's called acute care to where they're just giving me dialysis but are leaving a little fluid on to give my kidneys a chance, to full care. I'm not really sure. It's new to me, and I'm just taking it one day at a time, and I'm trying to still be careful with my diet, although I am enjoying more things than I did before, and just hoping the kidneys will start to heal and start to come back. So that's why there's dialysis. The kidneys are basically under a lot of pressure, or lack of blood pressure, and medicines that are being difficult on them, and just the surgery being difficult, and so it does sometimes happen. Now, speaking of questions and answers from Instagram, I've already answered Stampy57's question about the dialysis. Let's see, what else do we have here? Gee whiz, Geewzzz. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? A little bit outside of my field, but I'm going to go with 42 because I think 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. But really, what is the real question? Now, moving on to questions from Facebook, Rob Catherine asked, what made you want to start building Metal Earth models? Well, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about being crafty, wanting to keep myself busy, trying to keep myself as active as I can. And as things wound down, it got to be where I was doing more things sitting down. I used to do a lot of model building, and was considering getting back into that. But I saw the Millennium Falcon, the Metal Earth Millennium Falcon on ThinkGeek, and was really impressed with it and really blown away. And there was the R2-D2, there was the AT-AT Walker, and Darth Vader's advanced TIE Fighter. And I wanted to give it a try. I was very intimidated by it. They weren't very cheap. They still aren't exactly cheap. But I wasn't sure that's what I wanted to do, even though it said no tools required. Anybody that's been building them knows it's good to have at least a few tools. And what happened is I eventually saw it at a local craft store and had a discount coupon, 50% off. So I grabbed one, I gave it a shot. It wasn't too hard, but it was difficult. And that's my first video. The Millennium Falcon was my first build. And I really enjoyed it. And I wanted to do more. I got through it. I was like, alright, I can do another one. This isn't that bad. And I jumped on the Death Star. Not the Death Star, the Advanced TIE Fighter. That one was a lot more difficult because of that center cockpit area, and I failed miserably in the beginning. And I had looked online. I actually went online and looked for videos to help, and there was almost nothing about the TIE Fighter. There were a few videos about the Falcon, but nothing really explained how to build them, nothing about tools to use, nothing about tricks. The only useful thing I found in regards to the TIE Fighter was Amazon reviews, where people suggested a slightly different way than the instructions to do that center part. And so I took that advice. I threw up a video about what not to do. I tried it again and just went from there. I just continued to make the videos. People occasionally would say thanks, that helped me out. Glad I found this video, and I just kept going, and it just became an obsession. And at first it was about the Star Wars, and at first there was only 4, and then they came out with 4 more. They came out with Star Trek. I'm a big sci-fi fan. I'm a big fan of ships. Eventually they came out with the Halo and the Mass Effects, and I was very focused on those kind of kits at first. Transformers came out. I was very excited about that. But eventually I branched out into some of the other things. I think the Eiffel Tower, the steam locomotive was the first. That was a request. The Eiffel Tower was next. And I just, I built all the sci-fi comic book related stuff. I built the Batman stuff, I built Marvel stuff. I still wanted to keep going, so I started actually branching out into the rest of the catalog and just keep going. It's become a lot of fun. I've got quite a collection. I've really enjoyed it. I also enjoy the challenge and what I've learned making the videos, editing the videos. It's all been a learning experience for me. I think I've come a fairly long way and still have a long way to go. As time goes on, I learn more things. I really enjoy when people say thank you. That really helped. When people actually find the videos useful, it's a big deal for me. The next question from Andy Bone: how are things going since your surgery? Well, not too bad. I have more energy than I did before because I have a heart that's actually functioning properly, but I have less strength. I'm still working back a lot of my strength because I spent a lot of time in bed recovering, and it is amazing how quickly you lose muscle mass when you're just laying in bed. And it took a while for me to actually build up the strength enough to stand up on my own, to get out of bed on my own. That took weeks just to get to that point. I did physical therapy for a while. I just got to the point where I could actually do a few steps and walk fairly steadily on my own when they sent me home. And I've got the strength to go up or the energy to go up the steps, the stamina, but not quite the strength in my legs. I can do it, but I'm still kind of slow. So that's just kind of an example. I can go for long walks, but once I start to hit a hill, the leg muscles, they're still strengthening up. I still don't have a lot of upper body strength, but as time goes on, I'm trying to catch up around the house. I'm trying to take care of projects that had been sitting because I didn't have the energy. I'm trying to clean up things. There was this whole incident with the basement flooding while I was gone, so I'm having to put things back and rearrange and find things and set things up. Spending more time with my son, spending time doing things I couldn't do before. I'm spending time doing dialysis, so that takes away from my day. The school year's about to start. I'm trying to catch up with everything I need to know to get my son back in school. I'm working on getting help from vocational rehabilitation to help maybe get some job training. so that when I am to a point where I'm ready to go back to work, I can hopefully get a decent job. I've got just doctor's appointments and lots of different things going on that I'm trying to take care of, so it doesn't leave me as much time as I had before to do these models. And I'm doing more around the house to help out. I'm thankful that I can do that now. So there's a lot going on, and as it stands right now, I am working slowly. I want to get back to doing these models. I am doing them, but I'm not doing them as fast as I was before because I just don't have quite the same amount of time to continue to do them. Now, another thing is the side effects of the medication. One in particular causes my hands to shake. So that has made things more challenging. But I don't plan on letting it stop me. For one, some days are worse than others. For another, as time goes on, it should get better. But when I can, even if it's just for 10-15 minutes, I come down and I do a little bit of work and do my best with these shaky hands, because honestly from the start I didn't have the steadiest of hands. They aren't as bad as they get now, but it was part of the challenge of doing these models. It's always been part of the challenge of doing some crafty things. When I did plastic models before, that was part of the challenge, was to be able to build these things and say, I actually did that despite not being the steadiest of hands. So I'm up for the challenge. I'm continuing to do it. So in the future, if you see I'm a little shaky in the videos, I'm doing the best I can, and honestly, I'm just not going to let that stop me. I'm going to push on and do the best I can, and hopefully with exercise and practice, that will help steady them as well. It also shows that even with less than steady hands, you can still build these models. Now, since I've been back, I have posted a few videos. There was the grand piano, the Sydney Opera House, and the Danboard videos are actually builds that I had completed before going into the hospital. The videos were almost complete. There was a couple of fine-tunes, and to actually compile it into one video or export it, or I never can remember the proper name, and upload to YouTube. So that's the old me. And then there's some videos that I've worked on basically while I was in the hospital or in skilled nursing facilities. Some of the older videos I went back and cleaned up the narration and redid the background music so that you could actually better hear what I was saying, and now that I'm home, I'm actually able to upload those. So I've got 4 of the older Star Wars videos. I've got 4 more coming. I've got 4 more coming from The Force Awakens. Eventually, when I have the time, I don't spend as much time on the computer as I used to, because I can actually get out and do things now. I've got a lot of models that I had bought long before going to the hospital. I've got some stuff that Fascinations has sent me. There was a butterfly that I bought as soon as it came out with the intentions of quickly throwing that together and doing a video, and that was 2 or 3 months ago. And now the new little superhero guys are out, and I've got a few of those, so I've got a lot of catching up to do. There's a lot of stuff I haven't done yet. I'm doing my best. I want to make them all, and Fascinations has so much neat stuff coming out. I'll never catch up. But as always, if you have any other questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the well wishes from those that gave them through the difficult times, because really after the transplant there was several weeks of very difficult times, and I'm glad to be here today. Thank you for watching, and keep on keeping on.